Hey folks, what's up today? Well, as you can see behind me, I got a pile of wood here that needs to be split, and it's a pretty daunting task. That's a lot of blocks. Now, I've never split this much wood, uh, basically at once or over a multi-week period ever. I split a lot of wood every year, but this is more than normal. So. Um, I'm thinking of, for the first time in my life, getting an actual wood splitter. But for today, I'm going to show you techniques that I've been using over the years to split wood by hand. And there's multiple methods. There's what I call the finesse method, which is a hit and twist. You hit the block with the axe and you give the axe a twist, and the axe basically really never goes into the block. That's one of my favorite methods. The other method is using two axes. So if you've got a block, say this size, you work on one side with the first axe, you go over the other side and hit it with the second axe, and you go back and forth. It's a really good technique when you got two guys, because you don't have to spin the block or walk around. But I'm on my own, and I've been doing this on my own for years. The other technique is what I just call the brute force method, which is pick the biggest damn axe you got and hit it as hard as you can. And it works. That works on a lot of blocks, but not on all of them. And one of the flaws with these Mauls is, my opinion, even when you sharpen them, they're pretty dull on the end. So they either bust the log or they bounce off. And whereas a regular axe, if it doesn't split it, it at least makes a cut and you get a start. Whereas these don't. You either go through the log with these things, for the most part, or you get nothing done. The other technique, which is another favorite of mine on blocks this big or bigger, is simply use a wedge and a sledge. There is no block that will not split with a wedge and a sledgehammer, and it's good exercise. In fact, I think it's actually good for my back, but to do that on all this wood is a bit much. And there's another technique for doing that on some of the biggest blocks. Like I got some big blocks here. Oh, they're big. Here, think anything that's over 2 feet in diameter, like these. That big that block I've got there on the bottom that I'm using for a chopping block. But even these, two axes or whatever will split these. But often what I do is sometimes in the biggest blocks I cut a line with a chainsaw before I bother to put the wedge in. Now some of these have already cracked like that. One good hit here, because it's already split halfway through, should split that block. And this one, because it's got a good crack there or a crack here, wedge will probably work on that pretty good. And from my last video, I've also got all this wood back here, and that big block there and this big block here, those are huge. And I can split them by hand, but that's a lot of work. So that's why I'm thinking of getting a wood splitter. Now underneath here is a secret that we'll reveal when I get the other wood splitter, and we'll talk about that, and we'll do a comparison between the conventional hydraulic ramrod splitter and the special thing we got hiding back there. But for now, let's whack some of these blocks, and I'll go over the techniques that we discussed. So this is the hit and twist. Sometimes it works against you and you got to pick the log up. The beauty of it is the axe never really goes in the block. And there she goes, she splits. Morning! Yeah. Smile, you're on candid camera. You are now. We hit and split that. We can hit and twist this one too. Okay. That's the hit and twist. So this one is what we call the two axe technique. Start with one axe on one side, spin the block around, take your other axe, put it on this side, bend it around. So each time you put the axe in on one side, it loosens up the other axe. And there you go, she's split. Now we can twist it off. Give it a hit and twist. Take the axe out. Spin her around. Now we can work on it. More hit and twist. Keep going. And this stuff's still fairly coarse. Put it up finer. Add to the pile. Of course, as always, turn the axe over. I find sometimes that is the only way to finish a block. The axe is stuck in there so hard, it's not worth trying to get it out, just drive her through upside down. So we've seen the finesse for hit and twist, seen two axes. Let's try the brute force method with the big maul. Well, that did work. One more. Now these logs I already have a good sized crack in them, so that's why hitting it with a Maul looks like it's working so well. Just about any axe will take these out, actually. Alright. The other thing I don't like about the Maul mainly is this particular Maul. The original shaft broke on it. I bought this at an auction sale at my uncle's place, and the handle was replaced with a pickaxe handle. And I find I have difficulty hitting it right where I want to hit. Yes, I could change the handle, but it's working. I can work with it. Try another one here. Not crack quite so much. Feel them all here. That's the way they bounce. Either they go in or they don't. So once you split it in half, there's no real reason to keep using the Maul, and you can go to the other axe. Split it up finer. Something you also notice is a dark line on the bottom of my axis. And what that is because when you're not using your axes, and depending on the heat and humidity, the wood dries out. So I just stick them in a pail of water, and the wood soaks up the water and expands. You can put all the wedges in there you want. If the wood dries up, they won't hold. But you stick them in a pail of water, works every time. Now that's a pretty big block. Not huge, 18 inches across probably. This one is a good candidate for a wedge in the sledge. She split. Now you can do what you want with it. The other thing I always do, I always split from the bark side in. I never, unless it's a bad cut and it's leaning and it's the only way to get the block to sit, I always start splitting from the outside towards the center. I don't, in other words, the block isn't turned this way. I turn the block this way. Split from the bark. thing is, don't worry too much about the size of your block. I mean, that's a nice size block, but you want little woods and you want big woods for different reasons. When you go to bed at night, nice to throw a couple big blocks like that in the fire. Yeah, to throw in 6 or 7 of these. 6 or 7 of these is great when you start it. They burn better. But then some, they don't burn as long. Let's see if we can do an upside downer on this one. Ooh. Just about split. One hit and twist and she'll be done. Maybe. I like the hit and twist. The axe is lighter and you can swing it faster than the big maul. Doesn't always work. One method doesn't work, go to the next. There's a couple more nice good sized blocks. That is a big block. And this one. Start from scratch, no chainsaw mark. We're going to wedge and sledge it. And I think I'm going to use 2 wedges. I got a standard Z-shaped wedge and I got a spiral. I'm just trying to find a line here. It'll carry through, be advantageous for both sides. That's in there well. You don't really need 2 wedges, but when you got them, use them. This is a spiral wedge. She's splitting. There we go. Like I say, there's really no block of wood you can't split with wedge and a sledge. It just takes a bit of effort. And I actually like splitting wood, but it is taking up quite a bit of my time, so that's why I'm thinking of getting a splitter. Anyway, let's finish this block. Let's see what the old maul can do. Bounce. Bounce. Here we go. There she goes. Bounce. There we go. Anyway, this is all ash. It's all been dead for a couple of years. So it's not frozen. There's green grass on the ground. It's dry. Take them down another notch. Catch. turn this puppy around. Bark side 2. Let's see what we can do. Bounce. Bounce. Take it in. Over. Down the pipe. Grind string. Yeah, I think I can split wood just as good as anybody with an axe. But it's 10 minutes to 9 in the morning, it's heating up. This is real time. I've been at this for maybe 15 minutes and I've done pretty good, but I'm hot. I'm not worn out, but I'm hot. And people that own wood splitters will tell you that it isn't the speed, it's the endurance. So I can work like this for a couple hours. And tackling all that wood that's there, and all these blocks that are here, and excuse me, all the ones that are out back. So I probably got 10 to 15 hours of manual splitting to do, so I gotta try a machine. I'm like a machine, but I'm not a machine. Anyway, enough said.